Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope that whenever and wherever you are on planet Earth when you hear this recording, that you are getting ready your Thanksgiving list. I know a lot of you are not living in the United States and you're not Americans, and that's okay. But what if you took one thing from my culture and you said, you know what, that's a good idea. I'm going to sit down and write 21 things I'm absolutely grateful and thankful for in my life. Thanksgiving in the United States is a time to sit down and reevaluate your life and to you see what's working and what's not working, but you mostly see the things that you're really grateful for. For some of you, maybe you had a breakup and you're grateful to get that son of a bitch out of your life. You know, for some of you, you had the birth of a new baby in your family and you're just like, oh, wow, maybe I need to reevaluate my priorities. And maybe some of you had a death in your family this past year. And you think, wow, you know, I need to reevaluate my life goals and my decisions. Maybe some of you gained weight and you need to reevaluate your diet. Or maybe you need to take better care of your health. You know, I have a girlfriend who suffered for almost 3 years on chemotherapy, 2.5 years on chemotherapy. She kicked cancer's ass, but good. And she's been sick in bed for 3 weeks. And I'm just like, ugh. She's the same age as me. She's maybe a little bit younger than me by like 7 months or something. And I'm just, you know, I'm always like sending her love and light, you know, just praying for her. And I'm grateful to have her this year. Yeah, I lost my friend Amber this year, and that one was hard. And I lost some friends that I weren't terribly close with, but I did lose Dale. God bless his soul, and I love him so much. He was always that champion in my corner that I needed. Through the toughest of times, since 2005, he's been that person for me until this year. And it's like, I don't know why, guys, I've been really emotional today. Maybe the aliens got me pregnant. I'm just kidding. I don't know what it is. It's something about, there's something in the air, the atmosphere or something, but all day I've been really, really, very emotional. I don't know if I'm off balance or if I'm just refamiliarizing myself with some of my long lost emotions. I don't know what's happening, but I've been really, like, for a couple days, just really missing the United States, and I'm taking some actions soon to separate a little bit more myself from my country, and it's really hard. Even though I know I'm doing the right thing and my higher guidance tells me this is what I need to be doing, it's still hard, you know. Breakups are hard, you know, whether you're moving to, you're breaking up with a city and you're moving to another city, or you're breaking up with your house and moving to a new house, or a human being you're breaking up with, or if somebody dies, you know, there's always something really hard about those letting go moments. You know, like at least when people die, you're going to see them again. And yeah, when you leave a country, you might not ever see that house again. You can recreate it in heaven, that's sure. You know, there's some things in that house I started remembering that I have, and it's like, do I really want to spend like up to $2,000 in round trip airfare to get $6,000 worth of stuff? And some of that might be ruined, and some of it might have been stolen. I might only have $2,000 worth of stuff, you know. But I have a woven piece of fiber art. It was made by a little old lady, a tribal woman in Guatemala. She was 98 years old, and her eyesight was going, and her memory was going, and she didn't want to do the same old boring crap from her tribe anymore, which is sad because her tribe, I loved her tribal stuff, but like, I know, like, she wasn't from the St. Anthony tribe. There's Antonio tribe. I can't remember. I know what part of, like, what direction from Antigua you go to get to her tribe, because her daughter told me, and her daughter was 45 years old, and her daughter and I used to talk almost every day. She would sell stuff to tourists, and since I lived there, I'd sit with her and we would have a chat every now and again and always greet each other with affection. I knew a lot of people in Guatemala like that, in Antigua specifically. And it was really sweet. It was very, very sweet. But one day, when I first met her, though, she was desperate. Oh my God, she was so desperate for me to buy this stuff. She was crying. She was desperate. She needed money. And I had just gotten my money to pay my rent. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, why do you have to talk to me on the day that I actually have a lot of money in my pocket? Because I liked her stuff and I was so scared, like, oh, I'm going to buy this stuff. And she told me the story about her mom, and I just had to buy it. She chased me for 6 blocks. I was like, no, later. I'll come back later. I mean, I paid my rent. I'm like, I got to go back and get the other $50. You know, I was like, damn it. I paid $50, but that helped her mom and her to eat for a month. So she was grateful. But, and I was grateful that I was able to help her, to be honest. But I've been thinking about this thing today, and it's been making me sad because the mother was 98 years old. She got tired of making her same old traditional tribal crap, and she wanted to do something new and exciting and different. And one of the tourists had given her a stack of National Geographics. It was a tourist who had moved all their stuff from the U.S. and they brought all their old magazines with them, and then they just decided to get rid of them finally. And so they gave them to her, and she fell in love with all of the birds that were in the magazine from around the world, birds that she had never seen with her own eyes, and she loved birds. And so this piece of art that I bought was the only one she ever made, and it took her months to do it, and she hand weaved her own fabric, like her own yarn. I think she dyed it herself, and she wove it into yarn herself, and she hand did it painstakingly. And her daughter said it took her months, and she had to keep her face up against the cloth, and she started crying. She told me the story. She's like, my mom's almost blind, and it's her job to make this, and it's my job to sell it. And we've had this deal my whole life. And she was 45, never married. She just was there for her mom. And her mom was like on the verge of death, right? And this little old lady had made this thing, and it was like 10 birds from around the world. And only one of them was a bird from Guatemala. Because, she had peacocks, she had all kinds of stuff on there. And it was bright and colorful and really different than all the other stuff that she had. She said, it's my most special piece, and nobody ever likes it because it's not traditional, and you're the only one that's ever liked it. And my mom just made it. She finished it. It took her months. And she forced me to buy it for $50. And I was like, it's worth a couple $100, but I can't. I don't know if I have that kind of money. You know, I live in Guatemala for a reason. And she's like, all right. So we settled on 50. I gave her 50. She cried and cried and cried and hugged me so hard. And we were friends after that for the rest of my time there. Every time I saw her, every week, she hugged me so much. had to sit and have a conversation with me. And the people in Antigua are super sweet and friendly. Like, if you get to know people in that town and you're just going to take a 20-minute walk downtown, you have to expect it's going to take you 3 hours, because you have to walk and meet and greet and love and hug and sit and be friends with every single person there that knows you. It's completely impossible to get downtown and back in an hour. It's like an all-day trip. At least it was for me, because I didn't want to ignore people, but at the same time, you know, and sometimes I go, oh, no, I gotta go. And I try to take a different route, and people would be like on that street randomly. Oh my God. I mean, I got to know so many people in Antigua. It was like impossible to go anywhere anonymously anymore. Unlike Cuenca, where this is a big enough town where I could get lost in the town, and I'll run into somebody once every 2 weeks that I know. You know, unless I go to the gringo stomping grounds, that's a whole nother issue. Then I run into, 10 people I know. But it's been really hard on me, thinking about the idea of selling my house without going back to it and just kind of doing it remotely. And God told me, don't worry, when you go to heaven, you're going to have anything and everything recreated. You'll have everything back, everything that you want. I mean, I have a red dress I've never worn hanging in my closet in Detroit. That was a cheap replacement for a very expensive, very fancy designer dress that still had the tags on in storage. I had bought it to go dancing with a man that I was engaged to be married to. And then when his parents forbade the marriage because they were prejudiced against me for being a white person, I'm an American, even though they both got their degrees in the United States. They lived there for years, and half of their children were born there. I wasn't Saudi Arabian, so I wasn't good enough for their kid. And that was like his mother's dying wish to never speak to me again. Completely to diss me, like talking to me every day for months, falling in love with me and planning our lives together. He went and sold his car, bought a new car. He was already pricing out houses. He found a perfect house, and he found the school where my kids could go to school. He was already pricing out bicycles to buy for them as a gift, so that when I got there, he was going to buy me and him a bike and also my kids, so that as a family we could go together. He was looking into buying picnic baskets and stuff. Like, he was completely 100% invested in having a relationship, a long-term, forever marriage with me. And I had already put my information to the government of New Zealand, and I still hear from New Zealand. They keep asking me, when am I going to come and get my visas to stay and start applying for citizenship? Like, New Zealand wants me to be a citizen even now. I mean, to the point where I already had a job I wanted to get there that was to be a radio talk show host. Perfect for me, right? I mean, everything was like all lined up, and then his parents just said no, absolutely straight out no. And he told me we should do this without telling my parents and just go get married real quick, and then they can say nothing. And I'm like, well, I want to respect your parents. And I thought that they would have respect for me for saying that. Oh, but no. They were instead petty and racist. So, there you go. So I moved to Guatemala because the New Zealand thing didn't work out, and I just couldn't afford any longer to stay in the United States. And anyway, so all this stuff would happen because of that, basically. I couldn't be with him, so we ended up moving all over Central and Southern, South America, so that we could learn about the cultures and whatever. And sometimes my kids get angry at me and resent it because they didn't get their high school diplomas the normal way. And my oldest he's 19 and gained his GED this year. He's studying, and he called me and said, you know what, look at all the BS I have to learn. None of this is real. This isn't even true. I could prove it. I could show them the books that I read when I was in grade school to prove that this is a lie. I have to memorize a bunch of historical lies in order to pass a test that says I have a high school diploma that basically isn't worth anything because it's not even based in reality or the truth. He's like, education in this country is terrible. Like, I know. It's why I took you guys out of school as soon as your dad died. I don't want you guys to be indoctrinated with a bunch of BS in your head. It wasn't true. It's like, I love you so much that I don't want you to have a bad education and waste your life like that. I wanted to have time with you, and I wanted to show you the real world. Because the real world isn't going back and forth between school and your house, and then on the weekends going to a different city for a couple hours. That's not the real world. It's only part of a little tiny bit of a county or something, like, I want my kids to know all the countries and know several languages, and after they learned Spanish, they learned Arabic. Well, they learned French first, and then Arabic, and then Spanish, and then randomly we all started learning Russian on our own, and then told each other, like, oh my God, we all just started wanting to learn Russian randomly. I think because we met Alosha, my sweet friend from Moscow. But I've been really weepy about it. I've been really kind of sad and nostalgic, I would say, sentimental. Not really romantic. I think it's a sentimental is the word. I've been really sentimental. Like, really, this time of year is very hard for us. The 20th of November is always one of the hardest days because that's when my husband died 9 years ago. And if I have fights with my kids during this month, I have to keep reminding myself, well, it's really because of the tension and the sadness. They're over it. I mean, they're accepting it, but at the same time, and so am I, but at the same time, it's like so sad because we had such a happy life before he got brain cancer. It was so incredibly happy. And my youngest is like always saying, you got to find your happiness, Mom. You got to be happy. And I'm like, I'm as happy as I possibly can be. But after you lose something so seemingly solid and perfect, it's really hard to get back to that kind of happiness. I don't know. Hopefully I can. If maybe my twin flame will come into my life and we'll fall madly in love with each other and travel the world and paint art together and drink coffee together and go to Disneyland together, and I don't know what else, but I mean, Disneyland is the happiest place on the earth, according to their publicist. So, I don't know, but I hope that you guys are understanding that if you did lose anything, if you lose a place or a house or objects or a person or people, your friends, you're going to get it all back when you die. Everything's going to come back to you. So having that knowledge maybe should bring some kind of comfort to you. And then in the future, you'll get more things, have more experiences, more house, more life, more whatever it is. Or sell your house and get a tiny house and travel around. Or sell your house. And I have friends who bought a sailboat. My friend Michelle and her boyfriend and me bought a sailboat and decided to travel around the world. And they park it in marinas all over the world. And then they hop a bus, go see an entire country, and then go back to the boat and sail on down to the next country. And they're from Michigan. Some of the coolest people I've ever met in my life. I met them in Medellin, my first week in Medellin, in Colombia. And I was like, oh my God, their pictures, oh my God, they're so beautiful. If you guys are interested in seeing their pictures and of their travels, I mean, they just travel and travel and travel. I'll tell you their names if you write me on Facebook. I'll tell you Michelle's last name, and you can add her. Just say you're a friend of mine or you're a listener at my show and you want to hear about her travels because you heard they were impressive. She'll probably be happy to talk about it. Travelers always want to share their information and their tips and their warnings with each other. I love that my kids have learned to think like travelers and be open-minded and loving people and loving other cultures and trying to see it from someone else's viewpoint. And they definitely would not have gotten that from the narrow-minded biatches that were teaching at their grade school. I mean, out of all of their teachers, only 2 of them were nice. Only 2. The kindergarten teacher and then the 3rd grade teacher that also taught 3rd and 4th grade. She would like teach 3rd grade, and then the next year she'd teach 4th grade, and then the next year when her kids moved to 5th grade, she goes back to 3rd grade and teaches both again. You know, so at least the kids had the same teacher, the really good teacher for 2 years, but all the other teachers were just treating my kids like crap. It was like really crazy. You know, can you imagine having like a 1st grader and you show up in the classroom and the teacher's like being really judgmental and looking at your clothes with a disgusted look on her face when your clothes aren't any different from anyone else's clothes, just because she has a prejudice against you, like in front of all the kids. And I mean, that kind of crap happened to me over and over again. It was like so crazy. I don't know what it was about me. They just didn't like my high vibration, maybe. And that kind of crap's, and this happened to my near twin flame. He talks about that on the Starseed perspective, like his first 2 episodes. He talks about that too, and I don't know what that is, but it's like, why are we so weird that we don't fit in with other people and we get the stink eye when we're really not all that different than anyone else? But it's happened again and again. And when I go to closed-minded, weird little towns, no one likes me. Maybe it's why I'm in South America, because people like me because they don't understand me. If they knew what I was all about, they wouldn't like me. But, you know, some people, I've met a few people that are really spiritual here, though. A few people are open-minded, so that was cool, you know. But for the most part, people just don't want anything at all to do with me. They're just like, you're too weird. And if they hear my show, if they think they like me and then they hear my show, sometimes they just go, oh, yeah, well, I'm busy now. So, I mean, it's just, I'm glad my show sorts people out, and all of you are still here for me and listening to me and enjoying the show and hopefully learning something. Hopefully I'm teaching you guys information that is useful and helpful on your spiritual journey, and that's why I'm here. Basically, it's why I'm here. Also to point out the weird-ass symptoms, man. I mean, that we're all in this weird ascension thing, and we've ascended, and we're here, and we're starting to unravel, you know, the 3D world from us. We're shaking it off, you know, like the boots off the dust off our boots of this crummy little town, right? That's what we're doing with the 3rd dimension. But I don't know, today it was like a bunch of cloudies, blah, you know, and then it cleared up, and then a J and a D appeared in the sky, and I'm like, oh my God, there it is again. And I'm like, no, that can't be. Looked up again in another part of the sky, another J and another D. I'm like, okay. So there it is. That's my twin flames, my twin flames initials, I guess. It's my near twin flames initials, you know, Jude DeKoff, but crazy. It's just crazy. I'm just like looking at the sky going, what? But beyond that, the blue of the sky today was a different color than I've seen in a very long time. I don't think I've ever seen this color, to be honest. It was the palest of blue. Even when the sun was going down, when the sky was getting normally darker, it was extremely pale blue. Almost like the blue they used to use in the eyes of the cartoons in place of white, because the color white for white paint was so expensive back in the 60s. So if you look like at all the Scooby-Doos, some of the characters don't even have white in their eyes because they're just like black dots because they can't afford white. And like Fred on the Scooby-Doo, his shirt was an extremely pale blue. It was almost white, but it was blue. And you don't even notice it until someone points it out, and then you're like, oh, damn. So now I know I'm going to make you look. Monkeys always look. Haha. Just kidding. Look who's talking. I'm born in the year of the monkey. I'm a monkey. But I can't believe that color blue was so... It was almost the color of the white clouds, and the clouds today were white. Low on the horizon, they were cobalt blue. And then the sky was the palest of blue. It was paler than the blue eyeshadow of the 1970s from the disco days. Extremely pale blue, very, very light pastel blue. And I don't know what timeline you guys are from. If you remember the pastel colors, I think there were pastel colors in the 80s. Like the very, very, very pale pastel colors. Well, it was right after the bright neon colors, and then right after that became the very soft, subdued, gentle colors that were lighter than a baby's blanket. I don't know if you guys remember that. And I kind of remember it, and I kind of don't. It wasn't on the same timeline I'm on now, but I kind of remember it. Life is weird, dude. It's like, have you guys ever tried to look back in the past and of something general like that? You're like, wait a minute. I remember skinny jeans, and I also remember bell bottoms, and I kind of remember them existing at the same time, but it's two different timelines. Do you guys remember something like that where you have like 4 or 5 memories suddenly, and you're like trying to pick? You're like, it's almost like you're spinning a wheel of memory, and you're trying to figure out what memory was real and which ones are false, and then you realize you lived all of those timelines because you're a multidimensional being. That crap keeps happening to me too. I think it's making me unnerved, and that might be what's making me a little bit weepy, and that might be what's going on with you guys too. In the event that you're going through this, maybe you already went through it, maybe you're about to go through it, but I'm feeling really emotionally unsettled because I can't remember something clearly. I'm having 4 or 5 different memories of the same thing. Like I remember 5 distinct and clear memories of something, but they could not have all existed at the same time. So I'm going through that crap, and then plus stuff that I'm pretty sure I have in my house that I want back. And I'm like trying to decide, do I just sell the house and move on? Because it's only things, but some of the things are, like I think my oldest kid had his artwork in the house. He definitely graffitied the hell out of his walls in his room. But I don't know. I mean, I'm like looking at that, and then my oldest kid has a hidden money collection, money from around the world that he got on his travels, stuff like that that's special, but then it's not like we can't repeat that. We could get it somewhere else. We can get the stuff back, but and I have $6,000 worth of stuff in the house. I got furniture. It's fully furnished. And I know this woman's going to try to offer me something lowball, like $12,000, and no matter what condition it is in, the house and the property is worth $47,000. So I'm kind of like, I know that she's going to lowball me, and I'm like, maybe I should just take 25 and just call it a day, or I don't know. So I'm just like going through this crap, but I don't think it only has to do with the house. I think that there's some, because this pale blue that I saw in the sky was such a gentle baby blanket, lovely color, and I felt so comforted by it, but also sad. And it made me long for my childhood. It made me long for a simpler time where I could fall asleep in my mother's arms. I mean, I'm 51 years old. It's been 50 whole years since that happened, but it's still like one of those weird memories, like I wish my grandma and I were still sitting on the couch in her living room watching good old Merv Griffin, God rest their souls, even though I wasn't all thrilled, I was kind of bored at the show some of the time, but we of course had to wait for Johnny Carson, who was a hoot. I always stayed up late to watch Johnny Carson, and God rest his soul. See, and that's another thing, depressing. All the shows I used to like when I was a kid, all those people are dead now, most of them. like 90%. And I can't enjoy old movies anymore because they're all sexist and misogynistic and racist, and I'm too woke to enjoy them. So what the hell do I do now? You know, even I Love Lucy, last time I tried to watch it, it's like, man, Lucy and Ethel, they call themselves girl. And I'm too woke to accept that anymore. I don't know, we need new TV or something. We need new TV shows that are going to be life-affirming and positive and glorious. And some of the shows are. One Day at a Time, the new revised one, is excellent. But I don't know. But anyway, so I saw that. The pale blue sky suddenly became the color of the painted-on sky in Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean ride. In the Blue Lagoon, or in the lagoon part, right before you get into the ride part, and you're going by the restaurant's on the right, and on the left, there's like an animatronic guy fishing, and his feet are kicking in the water. And they have fireflies, artificial fireflies everywhere, and it's so magical, and you can hear the crickets. And it's that energy of, like, I guess it'd be like the bayou in New Orleans or in Louisiana. And there's something about that blue. And that was the exact color of the sky today after the sun went down. But the skies that would normally just get dark were pink, like bright pink. And they were like the Columbia Tri-Stars, the woman, and she's holding up a sword, and those pink clouds and blue sky that looks just like really beautiful art, but would never happen in real life. Today that happened in real life outside my window. I opened my window, I'm hanging my head out, 3 stories up, looking around and like, what? The sky is so cool. People think I'm crazy here. They grew up here and they take the sky for granted. How could you take God's art that is brand new every day for granted? It's like it's a brand new art show every damn day. And it's free to get in because you're already there, even if you're homeless. You even have a better view if you're homeless. It's like, how could you not appreciate what's right above your heads, people? Like, I point to the clouds and they go, yeah, so what? It's clouds. It's like, oh my God, are they colorblind? Is it just gray on gray to them? Do they have the vision of dogs? Dogs only see like 3 colors or something and they're all gray. According to scientists anyway. It's like, I don't know. I was like, how could you not see this and be in absolute awe of it? It blows my mind. But that was the sky today, and the pink clouds were just pink. Just a happy cotton candy colored pink. And I opened my window and I pulled in the energy of that baby blue, and then I pulled in the energy of that pink into my heart chakra. I distributed it throughout my body, and I imagined it filling up the giant bubble around me in a giant, like 10 feet in every direction or 12 feet in every direction. I imagine there's like a bubble of energy. I filled that up completely with that pink energy and the blue energy. And ever since I did that, I've been crying my head off over nostalgic things. I've been feeling really vulnerable to the happy and positive and joyful memories of my past, even from a few years ago, from my early childhood, just from my college days. I've been remembering all of those beautiful memories. And so I wonder if you guys are not going through something like this. And if you notice the pinks and the blues and the periwinkle and the lavender again was in the sky today. It's not what it used to be. It's more beautiful. It's somehow a little bit more familiar, which is weird. But maybe it's because it's what we got used to, watching all these weird cartoons, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's closer to actual heaven. And the more we unravel the past and the negative energy of it, the more we're open to the possibility of heaven on earth, I guess. So, all right. I'm going to get into this. Disclosurenews.it at 1700 o'clock, 1700 hours. Today's chart shows an initial long period of flat calm until 1 UTC, when very light movements have brought the variations to reach power 10, 10 Hertz frequency, at 9 UTC. From here, the movements started to become more consistent, up to starting a strong activity period from 13 UTC, during which the today's, not my words, it's theirs, maximum value of power 46 was reached. It seems that movements should also continue in the new chart of November 17th. Remember, the 17th every month has been some pretty massive activity, which I've kind of actually rather enjoyed. 23 o'clock UTC time evening report, or nighttime report. The strong activity continued, but with slightly less intensity. This period of strong variation started at 6 UTC and has been above power 40 for 2 hours from 15 to 17 UTC time. At this time, the maximum values are around power 30. So the big news for the day coming down from Italy is 46 Hertz frequency on the Schumann Resonance scale. Moving right along to... boop, 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 boop. Okay, there we go. Schumann Resonance from the HeartMath Institute, heartmath.org. They always have wide variety of numbers because it's from all over the world. This is what's going on right now. 51 in California started at midnight, and by 5 a.m. it was 53. Not a whole lot of movement. I mean, like barely any at all. In Hofuf, Saudi Arabia, started off at 0 and ended at 0. So that's just been a flat line for a long time, actually. Lithuania started off at 142 Hertz frequency and went up to 147 for a couple hours and then back down at 5 a.m. to 145 Hertz frequency. Alberta, Canada started off at 69. Oh, this is fun. Yeah, Alberta, Canada started off at 69 at midnight and went down to 68 and back up to 69 by 5 a.m. Also at 69 Hertz frequency was Northland, New Zealand at midnight, and they went up though to 76 by 5 a.m. Now I've got that song stuck in my head by Ministry. Psalm 69, 69, 69. Okay, I can't really sing it because it's like pretty heavy metal. I always loved that band. Okay. It's so irreverent and hilarious at once. Okay, maybe they weren't trying to be hilarious. I just saw the hilarity in it. Midnight in Honolulu, South Africa. It's a lot more mellow than yesterday's 700 Hertz frequency. Today they start off at 428. And they went down to 425 a couple hours later. And by 5 a.m. they went back up to 429 Hertz frequency. So there you have it for Schumann Resonance news for today. Now, in A Course in Miracles, acim.org, which is the website for the Foundation of Inner Peace, we are on lesson 159. If you would like to take the lessons on your own, where you're going to get more out of it and actually spend some time studying it and improving yourself and unraveling your mind and mental patterns from the third dimensional world, this is an excellent way to go about it. It's not a bad way at all, especially if you're raised as a Christian. It uses words that will help you unravel some of your deep, I won't say your beliefs, but the beliefs that were forced down your throat before you're old enough to even understand them. Some of them were false and erroneous, and this will help you unravel the falsehoods and reveal the truth underneath of it. basically. Anyway, you could get any one of the apps. There's so many for A Course in Miracles. Just look up ACIM, standing, of course, for A Course in Miracles. Lesson 159, this is the idea for the day. I give the miracles I have received. I give the miracles I have received. So I'm not going to get much into it. It's talking about Christ's miracles, how much they were a gift. His vision was a gift. Behold, the store of miracles set out for you to give. And you know what? That's something. You could look at the miracles in your life. Put that on your Thanksgiving gratitude list, right? I give the miracles I have received. All right, guys, I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, it is that day again, that time again. We're going to be reading again from Swami Panchadasi's book from 102 years ago, Clairvoyance and Occult Powers. Truly and really written by William Walter Atkinson, who was a lawyer who didn't want to be discovered as being a mystic or a Swami. So he made his name Swami Panchadasi so that the Bar Association wouldn't have words with him, I suppose. But since he's dead, I think I could talk about him and tell you guys who he really was. Because he does deserve, and God rest his soul, he honestly deserves for people to recognize him, who he truly was, for his work. Because this is an excellent book, and we're going to read it right after these messages. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the Anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you. All right, guys, so this is for me, take 6 or 7, because as soon as I wrapped up the first half and I plugged in the phone, and 20 minutes later it was back up to 100% because I've been having a wonky battery, I just started sneezing my head off, and I got really, really hot, unbelievably, not like I have a fever, but like my whole, almost like my aura and chakras completely feverish. I don't know. I'm not sick. Yeah, muscle testing says, no, I'm not sick. Is this allergies? It's not allergies. I've been in intense pain for a couple days. I've been taking all kinds of medicine to get rid of the pain, and nothing's working. So if you all are having these symptoms, then you know it's just readjustment, fixing our bodies, changing while we're in the fifth dimension. But I'm going to attempt to get through this again. Like, literally, this is like, take 58. No. It's more like take 6 or something. But I mean, I've had to like stop it, back it up, delete, start over a bunch of times. So we'll see if we get through this one, hopefully. Ojalá, inshallah, as God allows it. All right. So this is Clairvoyance and Occult Powers by William Walter Atkinson, otherwise known as Swami Panchadasi. This is part 9 of the series, and we're going to continue right now. Lesson 17, Personal Psychic Influence Over Others. Psychic influence, as the term is used in this book, may be said to be divided into 3 general classes. Number 1, personal influence, in which the mind of another is directly influenced by induction while he is in the presence of the person influencing. Number 2, distant influencing, in which the psychic induction is directly manifested when the persons concerned are distant from one another. And number 3, indirect influence, in which the induction is manifested in the minds of various persons coming in contact with the thought vibrations of the person manifesting them, though no attempt is made to directly influence any particular person. I shall now present each of these 3 forms of psychic influence to you for consideration, one after the other in the above order. All right, so personal influence, as above defined, ranges from cases in which the strongest control, generally known as hypnotism, is manifested, down to the cases in which a merely slight influence is exerted. But the general principle underlying all of these cases is precisely the same. The great characters of history, such as Alexander the Great, Napoleon Bonaparte, and Julius Caesar, manifested this power to a great degree and were able to sway men according to their will. All great leaders of men have this power strongly manifested, else they would not be able to influence the minds of men. Great orators, preachers, statesmen, and others of this class likewise manifest the power strongly. In fact, the very sign of ability to influence and manage other persons is evidence of the possession and manifestation of this mighty power. In developing this power to influence others directly and personally, you should begin by impressing your mind the principles stated in the preceding chapter. Number 1, namely, number 1, strong desire. Number 2, clear visualization. Number 3, concentration. You must begin by encouraging a strong desire in your mind to be a positive individual, to exert and manifest a positive influence over others with whom you come in contact, and especially over those whom you wish to influence in some particular manner or direction. You must let the fire of desire burn fiercely within you until it becomes as strong as physical hunger or thirst. You must want to, as you want to breathe, to live. You will find that the men who accomplish the great things in life are those that have a strong burning desire in their bosoms. What? No comment. Moving right along. There is a strong radiative and inductive power in strong desire and wish. In fact, some have thought that the main feature of what we are generally calling strong willpower. The next step, of course, is the forming of a clear, positive, distinct, and dynamic mental picture of the idea or feeling that you wish to induce in the other person. If it's an idea, you should make a clear, strong picture of it in your imagination so as to give it distinctness and force and a clear outline. If it's a feeling, you should picture it in your imagination. If it is something that you wish the other person to do, or some way in which you wish him to act, you should picture him as doing the thing or acting in that particular way. By so doing, you furnish the pattern or the design for the induced mental or emotional states you wish to induce in the other person. Upon the clearness and strength of these mental patterns of the imagination depends largely the power of the induced impression. I'm going to add something here, first of all. I think that if it's a feeling, you should picture it in your imagination at first, the results of the feeling having been felt. So say you're dating someone and they haven't kissed you yet and you want them to kiss you. Imagine in your imagination that it's happened, but also feel the strong, powerful desire of love, like you really love them, they really love you. And the kiss is only a manifestation of the feeling of love. But you cannot, again, I did a whole episode on this, I think around Valentine's Day, I believe. Don't ever try to force someone to love you because it's going to backfire. Allow it to happen naturally. So, but if you want someone to feel a feeling, picture it in your imagination and then send the feeling to them and then they will respond or not. But don't use this to try to manipulate or control others in a negative way, please. I mean, that's like serious karma, so I have to add that in this moment. Sorry, I'll get back to the text now, but just, this has been a witch-based public announcement. The more you know about witchcraft. I'm just kidding. Anyway, let's get back to it. Let's see, where was I? Upon the clearness and strength of these mental patterns of the imagination depends largely the power of the induced impression. See, one way you could use this that's not terribly negative is if you want to get a job and you think it's a good fit and the person has like 3,000 applications get through, send them a positive vibration of shaking your hand and smiling and maybe sitting down and having a coffee with you. Give them an energy of pleasant feeling and the feeling of relaxedness, not like the opposite of stress, like just, I found the person's good for the job, blah, 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 and just send them that feeling and then they could take it or not, but don't try to influence their mind to do something. Don't ever try to manipulate someone. Just send them a good feeling, positive vibe. And maybe the clear picture of you're sitting down together and laughing and joking and you're actually friends, that you're becoming friends in the workplace. I think that might be an example of what he means, because I don't think he really means just straight up control people, right? Anyway, I mean, like Alexander the Great, are you kidding me? So, sorry guys, just too much commentary on my part here, but yeah, just be careful, All right, the third step, of course, is the concentration of your mind upon the impression you wish to induce in the mind of the other person. You must learn to concentrate so forcibly and clearly that the idea will stand out clearly in your mind like a bright star on a dark night, except that there must be only one star instead of thousands. By so doing, you really focus the entire force of your mental and psychic energies into that one particular idea or thought. This makes it act like the focused rays in a sunglass, or like the strong pipe stream of water that breaks down the thing upon which it is turned. Diffuse thought has but a comparatively weak effect, whereas concentrated stream of thought vibrations will force its way through obstacles. Twin flame, call me, call me. Oh my God. All right. Remember always this threefold mental condition. Number 1, strong desire. Number 2, clear mental picture. Number 3, concentrated thought. The greater the degree in which you can manifest these 3 mental conditions, the greater will be your success in any form of psychic influence, direct or indirect, personal or general, present or distant. Before you proceed to develop the power to impress a particular state, a particular idea or feeling upon the mind of another person, you should first acquire a positive mental atmosphere for yourself. This mental atmosphere is produced in precisely the same way that you induce a special idea or feeling in the mind of the other person. That is to say, you first strongly desire it, then you clearly picture it, then you apply concentrated thought upon it. I will assume that you are filled with a strong desire for a positive mental atmosphere around you. You want this very much indeed, and you actually crave and hunger for it. Then you must begin to picture yourself in your imagination as surrounded with an aura of positive thought vibrations which protect you from the thought forces of other persons, and at the same time impress the strength of your personality upon the persons with whom you come in contact. You will be aided in making these strong mental pictures by holding the idea in your concentrated thought, and at the same time silently stating to your mind just what you expect to do in the desired direction. In stating your orders to your mind, always speak as if the thing were already accomplished at that particular moment. Never say that it will be, but always hold fast that to the it is. The following will give you a good example of the mental statements, which of course should be accompanied by the concentrated idea of the thing and the mental picture of yourself as being just what you state. Here is a mental statement for the creation of a strong positive psychic atmosphere. I am surrounded by an aura of strong positive dynamic thought vibrations. These render me positive to other persons and render them negative to me. I am positive of their thought vibrations, but they are negative to mine. What? I'm going to keep going. That makes no sense to me. I'll keep going. Maybe it will soon. They feel the strength of my psychic atmosphere, while I easily repel the power of theirs. I dominate the situation and manifest my positive psychic qualities over theirs. My atmosphere creates a vibration of strength and power on all sides of me, which affect others with whom I come in contact. My psychic atmosphere is strong and positive. I guess it means that you just don't want other people influencing you, and you can over-influence them, but you're positive and radiating good vibrations and joy, maybe the thing. I almost feel guilty reading this to you guys. What if you're evil secretly? Ooh, don't be evil, please. The next step in personal influence is that of projecting your psychic power directly upon and into the mind of the other person whom you wish to influence. Sometimes, if it is quite negative to you, this is a very simple, easy matter. But where the person is near your own degree of psychic positiveness, you will have to assert your psychic superiority to him and get the psychic upper hand before you can proceed further. This is accomplished by throwing into your psychic atmosphere some particularly strong mental statements, accompanied by clear visualizations or mental pictures. Make positive your psychic atmosphere, particularly towards the person whom you seek to influence, by statements and pictures something along the following lines. I am positive to this man. He is negative to me. He feels my power and is beginning to yield to it. He is unable to influence me in the slightest. I can influence him easily. My power is beginning to operate upon his mind and feelings. The exact words are not important, but the idea behind them gives them their psychic force and power. See, this is like kind of crazy. Okay, maybe this is just informational, guys. Don't actually do this. I mean, unless your words are going to be, this salesperson will never have influence over me because I have a strong psychic power. I'm positive. Okay, like maybe use it for something like that, yeah? I cannot be responsible for how you use this, so just don't use it in a bad way. All right. Then should you begin your direct attack upon him, or rather upon his psychic powers? When I say attack, I do not use the word in the sense of warfare or actual desire to harm the other person. That is a far different matter. Oh, thank God. I mean, this was getting dark for a minute, right? Okay. What I mean to say, he says, is that there is usually a psychic battle for a longer or shorter period between two persons of similar degrees of psychic power and development. From this battle, one always emerges victor at the time. Oh my God, I was just thinking about a guy named Victor at that moment when I read that sentence, because I felt like a psychic battle was someone named Victor. That is really hilarious because I won in a psychic battle with him recently. Not even negative. It was just, he's trying to influence me in a way I didn't want to go with my life. And I won it over him. Several times over people named Victor. Actually, really weird. Don't ever name your kid Victor. He will never be a Victor. Except his name only. Oh my God. I just realized like in 5 cases. Oh my God. Okay, never mind. Okay, from this battle, one always emerges victor at the time, and always is beaten for the time being at least. And as in all battles, victory often goes to him who strikes the first hard blow. The offensive tactics are the best in cases of this kind. What is he talking about? You guys, what is he talking about? I don't want to psychically attack people. That's like bad karma, dude. Maybe he just means like when people are, I don't know, like the next Hitler or something. In that case, you want to psychically defeat him, but give him a different thought. But this is really weird. Okay, we're just going to keep going. Use this for, shits and giggles, okay? Because I don't know. A celebrated American author, Oliver Wendell Holmes, in one of his books makes mention of these duels of psychic force between individuals as follows. There is that deadly Indian hug in which men wrestle with their eyes over in 5 seconds, but which breaks one of their 2 backs and is good for 80 years and 10. One trial enough settles the whole matter. Just as when 2 feathered songsters of the barnyard, game and dunghill, come together. What the fuck is he talking about? After a jump or 2 and a few sharp kicks, there is an end to it. And it is after you, monsieur, with a beaten party and all the social relations for all the rest of his days. So, I'm assuming he didn't mean that that's actually what, I mean, is he talking about, I think what he's talking about there is when you stare into the eyes of somebody until they look away, and now you're the superior dominant one. If you're trying to exert an influence over somebody, like for example, you have a new wolf puppy and you have to become the alpha male wolf, even if you're female, because you don't want the wolf to attack you and try to make you do what you want, or like what he wants, right? I had a wolf puppy and I had to assert the dominant alpha wolf thing. It was pretty crazy. But after that, I was the number one wolf and he protected me and stayed at my side loyally. It was awesome. I didn't realize at the time he's a wolf. I thought he was a dog. So, booyah. No, I mean, I miss my wolfie. I miss Sagan. His name was Sagan. But I think he's talking about staring contests. And I have done this with people that were trying to get me, to agree to something, to buy something I don't want to buy. They tried to get me to get into bed with them when I wasn't having any part of that. I'm not here for that reason. Or if I'm in a job interview and they want to get me into that job so that they can control me. And I've had really bad job interviews where I felt like, oh man. And I just will stare at them until they look away. And I don't get hired because they know I have hand. I just got it. And not that I really want hand over anybody. I really don't. But there are certain circumstances in which this is powerful and influential and will actually help you. In the case of someone who's trying to ask you for the time, or could they please carry your suitcase because they're getting ready to rob you in the city, stare directly in their eyes and just give them an idea that you are extremely dangerous and they best not be messing with you, and you're very direct with them, they'll leave. It's freaky. I've done it several times in a couple different languages and it does work. So, maybe if you think of it in that way, just not over average people. You don't meet someone at a party and psychically dominate them for the rest of your life for 70 years and 10. What the hell? Really? Feathered songsters of the barnyards? We're talking a cockfight here. Weird. Okay. Speaking of feathered songsters, an English physician, Dr. Fothergill, or Fothergill. I swear to God, he's making up these names. An English physician, Dr. Fothergill by name, wrote a number of years ago about this struggle of wills, as he called it, but which really is a struggle of psychic power. He says the conflict of will, the power to command others, has been spoken of frequently. Yet, what is this willpower that influences others? What is it that makes us accept and adopt, too, the advice of one person while precisely the same advice from another person has been rejected? Oh, relationships. Oh, has your really amazing idea ever been rejected by someone in a relationship? Then you break up and then a random stranger tells them to do something, or their next girlfriend or their next boyfriend tells them to do something. It's the exact same advice. And they call you and go, oh my God, I've been doing this thing because so-and-so told me and I'm so happy. And you're like, oh my God, I just want to strangle you right now because I told you for 6 years not to do that thing. I can't believe it. That's what that is. Oh, I've been looking and searching for that answer for a long time. Holy moly. That's what it is. It's that first eye staring contest thing. Holy moly. And the psychic influence thing. Oh my God. I mean, I hope you guys had a spark in your mind. I mean, I have a light bulb above my head, seriously, right now. Yes. Is it the weight of force of will which insensibly influences us? The force of will behind the advice. That is what it is. The person who thus forces his or her advice upon us has no more power to enforce it than any others, but all the same we do as requested. We accept from one what we reject from another. One person says of something contemplated, "Oh, but you must not," and yet we do it all the time, though that person may be in a position to make us regret the rejection of that counsel. And another person says, "Oh, you mustn't," and we desist. Though we may, if so disposed, set this latter person's opinion at defiance with impunity. It is not the fear of consequences, not of giving offense, which determines the adaptation of the latter person's advice, while it's been rejected when given by the first. It depends upon the character or willpower of the individual advising whether we accept the advice or reject it. This character often depends little, if at all, in some cases, upon the intellect or even upon the moral qualities, the goodness and badness of the individual. It is itself an imponderable something, yet it carries weight with it. There may be abler men, cleverer men, but it is the one possessed of will who rises to the surface at these times, the one who can by some subtle power make other men obey him. Holy moly. The willpower goes on universally. In the young aristocrat who gets his tailor to make another advance in defiance of his conviction that he'll never get his money back. It goes on between lawyer and client, betwixt doctor and patient, between banker and borrower, betwixt buyer and seller. It is not tact which enables the person behind the counter to induce customers to buy what they did not intend to buy, and which bought gives them no satisfaction, though it is linked therewith for the effort to be successful. Whenever two persons meet in business or in any other relation in life, all the way up to love making, there is this will fight going on, commonly enough without any consciousness of the struggle. There is a dim consciousness of the result, but none of the processes. Often it takes years of the intimacy of married life to find out with whom of the pair the mastery really lies. Often the far stronger character, to all appearances, has to yield. It is this will element which underlies the statement, "The race is not always to the swift, nor the battle to the strong." In Middlemarch, we find a Lydgate, a grand aggregation of qualities, yet shallow, hard, selfish Rosamond masters him thoroughly at the end. He was not deficient in willpower, possessed more than an average amount of character, but in the fight, He went down at last under the onslaught of the intense, stubborn will of his narrow-minded spouse. Their will contest was a collision of a large, warm nature, like a capable human hand, with a hard, narrow, selfish nature, like a steel button. The hand only bruised itself, while the button remained unaffected. You must not, however, imagine that every person with whom you engage in one of these psychic duels is conscious of what's going on. Usually he recognizes that some sort of conflict is underway, but he doesn't know the laws and principles of psychic force, and so is in the dark regarding the procedure. You will find that a little practice of this kind, in which no great question is involved, will give you a certain knack or trick of handling your psychic forces and will, besides, give you that confidence in yourself that comes only from actual practice and exercise. I can point out the rules and give you the principles, but you must learn the little bits of technique yourself from actual practice. When you have crossed psychic swords with the other person, gaze at him intently, but not fiercely, and send him this positive, strong thought vibration. I am stronger than you, and I shall win. At the same time, picture to yourself your forces beating down his and overcoming him. Hold this idea and picture in your mind. My vibrations are stronger than yours, and I am beating you. Follow this up with the idea and picture of you are weakening and giving in because you're being overpowered. Okay, maybe not add the evil laugh. I don't know. Is that word? Insert evil laugh here. Okay. A very powerful psychic weapon is the following. My vibrations are scattering your forces. I am breaking your forces into bits. Surrender. Surrender now, I tell you. That's how I'm going to conduct real estate. No, I'm just kidding. Oh my God. This is crazy stuff, man. I mean, I feel kind of strange even. Like, this is wild. But you know what? This is going to come in handy sometime in your life. Trust me on this. I just feel it. Okay. And now for some very interesting and very valuable information concerning psychic defense. You will notice that in the offensive psychic weapons, there's always an assertion of positive statement of your power and its effect. Well then, in using the psychic defensive weapon against one of strong will or psychic force, you reverse the process. That is to say, you deny the force of his psychic powers and forces and picture them as melting into nothingness. Get this idea well fixed in your mind, for it is very important in a conflict of this kind. The effect of this is to neutralize all of the other person's power so far as its effect on yourself is concerned. You really do not destroy it in him totally. You simply render his forces powerless to affect you. This is important not only when in a psychic conflict of this kind, but also when you wish to render yourself immune from the psychic forces of other persons. You may shut yourself up in a strong defensive armor in this way, and others will be powerless to affect you. In the positive statement, I deny, you have the occult shield of defense. Ooh, I like that. I deny. That's cool. Which is a mighty protection to you. Even if you do not feel disposed to cultivate and develop your psychic powers in the direction of influencing others, you should at least develop your defensive powers so as to resist any psychic attacks upon yourself. You will find it helpful to practice these offensive and defensive weapons when you are alone, standing before your mirror and playing that your reflection in the glass is the other person. Send this imaginary other person the psychic vibrations, accompanied by the mental pictures suitable for it. Act the part out seriously and earnestly, just as if the reflected image were really another person. This will give you confidence in yourself and that indefinable knack of handling your psychic weapons that comes only from practice. You will do well to perfect yourself in these rehearsals, just as you would in case you were trying to master anything else. By frequent, earnest rehearsals, you will not only gain familiarity with the process and methods, but you will also gain real power and strength by the exercise of your psychic faculties, which have heretofore lain dormant. Just as you may develop the muscle of your arm by calisthenic exercises until it's able to perform real muscular work of strength, so you may develop your psychic faculties in this rehearsal work, so that you will be strongly equipped and armed for an actual psychic conflict, besides having learned how to handle your psychic weapons. I really could have used this information 10 years ago. I had a psychic battle on my hands, and it was, I came out victorious, but it was freaking rough. This person sent me in one day 3 cars, 3 white Broncos. It was so freaky. And I was almost run off the road. I was almost hit while I was standing on the side of the road. They almost hit my car, and they almost hit me 3 times. 2 times I was almost run off the road. One time I actually was run off the road. In one day, psychic attacks. And it was right after I did some psychic defense. And as soon as I did that, the 3 attacks happened, and I knew it was this person, that if I tried to protect myself from this person's voodoo, I was feeling needles being put into my stomach and in my arms and feet and legs. Might be why I broke my leg, because I was unaware of what was going on at the time. But, maybe like later I thought it was over, but I felt a lot of psychic energy attack when I moved back to the States. I mean, this person thinks they're keeping me down. Oh, I'm in Ecuador, so, I have a feeling that this person thinks they have psychic influence over me in this way. And what's funny is that God led me to this beautiful place, and I'm like super happy here. But this stuff, actually, I think you're going to need to know it, just to be honest with you, just because it's like a just in case, right? Self-defense in case someone attacks you in a parking lot, you might as well know psychic self-defense. And that might actually help you defeat a physical enemy who tries to physically attack you. I mean, I don't see this happening, like 10 years from now, I don't see this happening at all anymore, but it might happen in the next few years. I don't know. So just be careful. All right. After you've practiced sufficiently along the general offensive and defensive lines, and have learned how to manifest these forces in actual conflict, you will do well to practice special and specific commands to others in the same way. That is to say, practice them first on your reflected mirror, image in the mirror, then following commands with mental pictures, of course, will give you good practice. Go about the work in earnest and act the part out seriously. Try these exercises. Here, look at me. Give me your undivided attention. This sounds like such a narcissist, right? Give me your undivided attention. Come this way. Come to me at once, twin flame. I'm sorry, I didn't say twin flame. I said that. So come to me at once, or go away from me, leave me at once. You like me. You like me very much. Dude, this is just like straight up, don't do this stuff. Like, I don't know. You are afraid of me? That would be one for defense. If they decide they're afraid of you and they want to stay away from you. But that could backfire, so be careful. You wish to please me. Yeah, you guys don't do this. This like sounds like... You will agree to my proposition. See, that one might be better. In business, maybe. I mean, not really influencing, but look, you're going to like me and you're going to agree to my proposition. Well, you know, sometimes people will take a couple days to think about something and they'll still say no. But you could give them positive, radiating joy and lovely energy if you feel like it's a good mix. But, oh my God, don't straight up manipulate people. I don't think that's right. You will do as I tell you. Any special command you wish to convey to another person psychically, you will do well to practice before the mirror in this way. Well, how about the guy who illegally sold all my stuff out of storage? You will give me $2 million, because that's how much the stuff was worth inside my storage. Shit. Okay. When you have made satisfactory progress in the exercises mentioned above and are able to demonstrate them with a fair degree of success in actual practice, you may proceed to experiment with persons along the lines of special and direct commands by psychic force. The following will give you a clear idea of the nature of the experiments in question, but you may enlarge upon them and vary them indefinitely. Remember, there's no virtue in mere words. The effect comes from the power of the thought behind the words. But nevertheless, you will find that positive words used in these silent commands will help you to fit in your feeling to the words. Always make the command a real command, never a mere entreaty or appeal. Assume the mental attitude of a master of men, of a commander and ruler of other men. Here follow the number of interesting experiments along these lines, which will be very useful to you in acquiring the art of personal influence of this kind. You know what's really funny is I bought a program called Personal Influencing. And I was listening to it, and it had nothing along the lines of what I'm reading right now. I'm like on lesson 3, but it's not even talking about how to influence other people. It's talking about how not to spend your money on stupid stuff and how to learn to handle yourself and negotiate your own way in business. But not even that, not even about negotiations. It was just, so far has nothing to do with this. I'm like kind of laughing about it now. I'm like, well, I'm going to make my own influencer. No, okay, I'm not. But, all right. There are 7 valuable exercises here. All right, let's see how long this is. It's not too long. We're going to go over these. 7 valuable exercises. Exercise 1. When walking down the street behind a person, make them turn around and answer to your mental command. Oh, that's so interesting. See, it doesn't really hurt anybody, so what? He turns around, big deal. Select some person who does not seem to be too much rushed or too busy. Select some person who seems to be having nothing particular going on in his mind. Then desire earnestly that he should turn around when you mentally call him to do so. At the same time, picture him as turning around in answer to your call. And at the same time, concentrate your attention and thought firmly upon him. After a few moments of preparatory thought, send him the following message, silently, of course, but with very much force, positiveness, and vigor. Hey there, turn around and look at me. Hey there, turn around at once. While influencing him, fix your gaze at the point on his neck where the skull joins it, right at the base of the brain in the back. In a number of cases, you will find that the person will look around as if someone called him out loud. In other cases, he will seem puzzled, and he'll look from side to side as if he's looking for someone, as if he's seeking someone. After a little practice, you'll be surprised how many persons you can affect in this way. It's so weird. But you know what, you guys? I've been alone and no one around, and I heard someone call my exact name. And I mean, I was like looking all over the place. Now I'm wondering if someone didn't try and do that to me. Like looking through a window of a house that I couldn't see in the dark or something. That's like kind of freaking me out. Okay, exercise 2. When in a public place, such as a church, concert, or theater, send a similar message to someone seated a little distance in front of you. Use the same methods as in the first exercise, and you'll obtain similar results. It will seem queer to you at first to notice how the other person will begin to fidget and move around in his seat. Finally, glance furtively around as if to see what's causing him the disturbance. You, of course, will not let him suspect it's you. Instead, you'll just gaze calmly ahead of you and pretend not to notice him. It's just like screwing with people. Oh my! It's kind of funny though. I mean, if someone has been messing with you, that might be funny, just to make them turn around and like get nervous, and then nothing else. There's like nothing else beyond that, but it'd be very interesting to try. Exercise 3. This is a variation of the first exercise. It is practiced by sending to a person approaching you on the street or walking ahead of you in the same direction a command to turn to the right or the left as you prefer. You'll be surprised to see how often you're going to be successful in this. Oh my God. You know, guys, I've done this to get people to walk on the opposite side of the street as me. Like I've literally, and I don't know how I did it. It was like an automatic, like I didn't want them near me. And I was like, you need to go now across the street. Now. I might be dangerous. You don't know me. I look crazy. Get across the street. And it worked. People like would start looking around like they're like upset. And then they like cross the street. Because like I'd see people, I thought, well, they might be like a gang member or something. But it's so easy to overpower people who wear all the getup like they're in a gang or they have a gun, or because they're scared and they don't. You can mentally exert influence over them in a way where they will just move away from you and they won't try to rob you or hurt you. And that way no one gets hurt and everything's fine. They just get like kind of freaked out for a few seconds and they have to get out of there. And I've exerted influence over people where they were like right next to me getting ready to rob me. I think one guy had like a knife in his hand and his arm was touching my arm and his buddy's arm was touching my other arm on either side of me. And I started thinking, and I sent them the mental image of, I'm going to step back and crack your coconut heads together. And I made a crack, crack sound in my mind. And then I burst out laughing, hilarious. And they started running away from me. And it was so funny because one of these guys had tried to attack physically one of my kids like a year before. And when they ran by my kid, they were like, my kid was like, wait a minute, I know that guy. He tried to attack me before. Like, they just tried to attack me now, and I got him out of here using my mind. and ask God, help me, send Archangel Michael, and I'm going to give him the image of you touch me, I'm going to crack your coconuts together. This does work. This stuff works. And I didn't know any of this. I didn't read this book before. I didn't know this stuff. So this is where it will be interesting to see yourself do this, right? Walk to the right, walk to the left. Be my puppet. It's so weird. Okay, exercise 4. This is a variation of the second exercise. This is practiced by sending to a person seated in front of you in a public place the command to look to the right or look to the left, as you prefer. Do not practice on the same person too long after you succeed at first, because it's not right to torment people. Remember, oh, thank God he knows that. Yeah, don't mess with people too much. But I mean, if you're scared and you're walking down the street at night and you see a guy walking towards you and you're like, oh, this can't be good, send him to the other side of the street and just keep going. Also, if you talk to the angels and you say, I need you here right now, a lot of times you won't see anything, but the person walking down the street will see you walking with a couple big, huge dudes. And they want to mess with you. And it's like really crazy. I've had to develop this sort of psychic power stance where I'm walking down the street and grown, scary men with like tattoos and freaking knives hanging off their belts and like, you know, even guys with guns. I've seen them like bow their head and they won't look at me when I walk by. It's pretty crazy. Like, I mean, biker dudes, like gangster dudes, like freaking scary cartel looking dudes here in South America. Like, you have to know this stuff. I'm going to give you the rest of these exercises and then we're going to but this is interesting. Exercise 5. After having attained proficiency in the foregoing exercises, you may proceed to command a person to perform certain unimportant motions, such as rising or sitting down, taking off his hat, taking out his handkerchief, because like everyone has those now. Actually, some guys wear them in their pants as a style thing, which is pretty cool, but all right. Taking out his handkerchief, laying down a fan or an umbrella or something. Exercise 6. The next step is to command persons to say a particular word having no important meaning, to literally put words in his mouth while talking to him. Wait until the other person pauses as if he's searching for a word. Suddenly, sharply, forcibly put the word into his mouth, silently, of course. In a very susceptible person who's well under your psychic control, you may succeed in suggesting entire sentences and phrases to him. Bruce Almighty, anyone? Nah. Exercise 7. This is the summit of psychic influencing, and of course, it's the most difficult. But you'll be surprised to see how well you succeed in many cases after you have acquired the knack and the habit of sending the psychic message. It consists of commanding the person to obey the spoken command or request that you are about to make to him. This is the art and secret of the success of many salesmen, solicitors, and others working along the lines of influencing other people. It is acquired by beginning with small things and gradually proceeding to greater and still greater. At this point, I should warn you that all the best occult teachings warn students against using this power for base ends or improper purposes, etc. Such practices tend to react and rebound against the person using them like a boomerang. See, I told you. Thank God he knows that. Beware against using psychic or occult forces for improper purposes. The psychic laws will punish the offender just as do the physical laws. Finally, I caution the student against talking too much about his developing powers. Beware of boasting or bragging about these things. Shh. Keep silent. Keep your own counsel. When you make known your powers, you'll set into operation the adverse and antagonistic thought of the persons around you who might be jealous of you and who wish to see you fail or make yourself ridiculous. The wise head keepeth a still tongue. One of the oldest occult maxims is this: learn, dare, do, keep silent. You will do well to adhere strictly to this warning caution. All right, guys, I hope that you got a lot out of this one. I certainly did. Hopefully next week when I come back with lesson 18, I won't be under the influence of such horrible allergies, but I was able to control my mind there. I don't know what happened. It's funny. Maybe it's just this blooming trees or something, but I did drink some coca tea and some mint tea and took some vitamins. I think I was missing a vitamin and now I'm fine. Like half hour ago I took a vitamin, or no, an hour ago I took a vitamin. I seem to be okay now. Anyway, well, that's all I got to say about that. I mean, this was a very strong eye-opener for me. Next week, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about psychic influence at a distance. Wow, that's good. I'm going to need this one. I'm going to need this one, I think. Yeah, this is crazy. This is good stuff, though. I hope that you're enjoying it. Again, don't ever use it against someone to harm or hurt them. But you know what? People have used this stuff against me, and now I know how to defend against it. And I hope he's going to go. I think he'll go more into it, how you defend against someone who is psychically attacking you. But develop the powers, because then when someone does attack you, it's just going to be like brushing a mosquito off your arm, you know, rather than stepping out of the way before a truck hits you. You know what I mean? It's going to be easy, and then you can be safe. You can be fine. But always think positive. You know, obviously positivity is always the better. And actually, a negative or evil thought does not have nearly as much power as a very powerful, positive thought with the love of God behind it. God is the ultimate warrior. He is your strength. He is your source, literally, of energy. Anyway, that's it. I'm running out of time, guys. I love each and every one of you, and I am so happy you're here listening to this crazy old book with me. I'm glad that you are part of my ascension journey, and I'm glad we're learning this stuff together. It's super fun. I could have just read the book to myself, but I'm getting more out of it by reading it loud to you guys. So I wanted to give a quick shout out to Jenny for favoriting my podcast recently, and also to Wasim, who just wrote me 2 messages tonight, and he's 19 years old, and I'm so happy to hear from you. I'm so happy that I have such young listeners, same age as my own kids, so I think that's really cool. So thank you for listening. You guys tell your friends, tell everybody you know. Just spread the word about the podcast. I need it to grow and grow and grow. And I have 6 months to make a decent living from this, because I've got to prove a good income for 1 year to the government so I could keep staying down here, because God told me to stay here, and God's going to help me. But I need you guys to help me too. All right. Thank you, guys. Signing off with peace and joy and the high vibes of the holy 5th dimension. Till next time, guys. Peace out. Do you ever wish you could look into the next chapter in your book of life and see what's coming next? What does the universe have in store for you, I can help you with that. I will give you a Celtic cross reading, which is 10 cards, or you can ask me 3 questions, and I use 3 cards per question. So that's 9 cards, or I can channel your higher guidance, or maybe God directly for you. Maybe you want to talk to your dear departed Aunt Edna, because maybe you have a few questions and she was the smartest person you knew. If your deceased relatives are available or your ascended masters, I can channel them for you personally. Let me have 1 hour to show you the future in your next chapter of your book of life. Readings are $75, and it takes me an hour to an hour and a half to complete. And for this price, you will also be hooked up to the healing grid around the planet for free, which means yours truly, me, I will be giving you Reiki 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of your life. All you have to do is let me know. metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com, and we will explore your future together.